That's been used to trying to get down here. Oh, I need to take
Oh, yeah. What's your own?
Metal building, the guy in there, you need to go in and check him out. But it's, you don't have an open sign, but he's there, and go anything. Yeah, you need to see what. Yeah,
They're all a little different.
I think,
But I think that
Some lights go there. Dry down the lights.
take a picture.
And do that. Is that difficult?
Well, good evening, everybody. We are 1 minute after 5:30, so I want to be appreciative of everybody's time. I do thank you for coming tonight. I'm excited to share the updates on TDOT's project here in Monteagle at the interchange. So thank you to the city for allowing us to use facilities and host. We got maybe 20-25 minutes or so of presentation. We've gotten some comments and things about the project, so we'll hit the most frequently asked questions we kind of get, and then we'll spend some time. We got our design team here from TDOT. I'm Mike O'Donnell, the project manager, Kurt Duncan in the green shirt, Gracie Shamlin in the blue shirt, and Crystal in all black. Our design team is Vinesh, that's Heather Dean.
I'm Heather Dean, and I'm the project manager for the roadway part of the project. And then, do you want me to introduce?
Oh yeah, the two in the back.
Okay, and then we have Julie Wolf and Bob Bagwell.
All right, so again, the intent of tonight is really just to share information about the project, hear any concerns or questions you have, make sure we have a chance to talk one-on-one with you. We do have sign-in sheets near the front if you'd like to sign in. That's certainly good. We've got a website information about how to stay up to date on the project, and then we also have a stack of comment cards. If you do want to provide specific feedback, you can fill those out and leave them here tonight, or you can take them, fold them up, and mail them in, and we'll get all of that collected just to make sure we understand your concerns and questions, support for the project, hopefully. So with that, we'll start with just an overview of the interchange. North is up on the screen, and the project really starts west of I-24. We carry over I-24, reconstructing the bridges, and then to the east side near US 41. So I-24 goes from top left to bottom right. The overall scope of the project is reconstructing the typical section, making a few changes there. Heather will explain that. Reconfiguring the ramps. The project does include roundabouts, bridge reconstruction, the Monteagle Trail. So we'll touch on first what we looked at from the existing conditions, some of the issues and the problems, the history of the crashes that we saw, safety opportunities, and then Heather will talk about what the project is implementing to address those. Oh, we're off the screen a little bit. That's just the title, so I don't think you'll miss anything up there in the blue bar. The project history, if you're local, you probably know we had a project a couple of years ago to replace the bridge. That's where this started. That was moving along and was getting near preliminary engineering plans finalization. But then the governor had additional funds in the 23 budget to modernize the intersection or the interchange. So with that, we took a higher look and said, well, aside from just the bridge replacement and putting back the exact same thing, what else does the area need? Again, the interchange really hasn't been touched since it was originally constructed. So we wanted to build on the bridge replacement project. We know it's got the Monteagle Trail that runs currently up to the west side. We want to continue that through. I mentioned the rural interchange. That's what really gave us the opportunity to address some of the capacity, the safety issues. A milestone on the history was we have our FHWA, that's Federal Highways. Because we're working on the interstate, they need to review and approve the changes. So we have received that approval. And we also have received completion of our environmental documents. So those were two milestones that took a little longer than we were hoping for, but we are through those now. So again, our environmental document is complete. Our preliminary engineering is about 75% complete. I think it was about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago that we came last time and spoke at a town hall. So most of the changes since then were the completion of those two milestones and then further refinement of the design. Right-of-way, if you've seen any stakes out, that's the beginning of the right-of-way process. We started that in July. Looking forward, we'll be appraising. They'll be in touch with the property owners coming up. Construction is scheduled to begin in early 2027. We would advertise the project. The remaining steps are to acquire the right-of-way that we need and get the environmental permitting. So the schedule cut off a bit as well, but it's 2027 is our target for starting construction. So the next few slides will be talking about some of the issues that we saw when we were doing the research on the project. Notable crash history was really at the I-24 westbound ramps and Wren's Nest. There were 11 crashes over the 3-year period, a lot of angle crashes, side swipe crashes. Driving through the area, especially at night or in foggy conditions, it can get confusing. Just is it clear where the lane delineation is? So that's why we saw the crash history there. We also looked at the State Route 15 corridor as a whole. If you're starting out on the west side of town coming in from Sewanee, it's a 3-lane typical section, and then you get to the interchange and it widens out to 4 lanes with a grass median. We've got separated bridges. It comes back together with a 5-lane section as you pass through some of the businesses, and then it goes back to a 3-lane section. I think it was a 4-lane section through town before, and it was restriped down. So realizing there was some inconsistency in the corridor there, we matched that up with looking at our traffic volumes. Really, the 4 lanes wasn't necessary to handle the volume of traffic that we have at the interchange. So by taking a look at the traffic, we wanted to see, is there an opportunity to better balance that and make it a little more consistent and predictable. We also knew the existing lighting system. It's got some years on it. I think it was out some recently, so we got it. It's been repaired. The city took care of that. But just knowing there could be some upgrades of lighting, that was a core component of the project, was making sure that we got a good lighting system installed. So Heather's now going to talk about some of the proposed efforts.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk about the SR15 improvements that we're going to be doing, and I'll point to a few things. Okay, this is the typical section that is going to be from the beginning side of the Sewanee side, at the beginning of the project, up to the first roundabout. And then this will also be the same typical section from the Peanut roundabout to the end of the project towards Monteagle. So a couple things I want to point out here is there'll be a lane, 1 lane, 12-foot lane in each direction, plus a continuous center turn lane in those sections. The other thing is the Mount and Goat Trail. That will be on the left side, the more northern side of the bridge throughout the whole project. So I have another slide about that, but we're going to basically tie into the existing Mountain Goat Trail and get it all the way through the intersection of State Route 2 or US 41. We will be limiting the pedestrians. There will be a little bit of sidewalk on the south side, but through the interchange itself, all pedestrian movements will be to the north side. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay. Here is the existing bridges. You can see we have the existing railroad bridge, we have the northbound north bridge, and then the south bridge. And this is the future, what it's going to look like. So just to kind of get an idea, there will be a raised median in this area. So continuous 12-foot lanes, 2 12-foot lanes, 1 in each direction. And in this area, we'll have 6-foot shoulders. So that if there's a crash or something happens, that you can still get by if people pull off to the side. So that's why we have a little bit wider area through there. But again, we'll have the Mountain Goat Trail right here across the bridge. Here's the Waffle House. I think there's a lot of things that we've done to keep the Waffle House in place. So anyway, so we'll have the Mountain Goat Trail that will continue through this area. So, but again, there won't be a sidewalk on the south side. There'll just be pedestrian movements on the Mountain Goat Trail. Okay, so this is a picture of the previous end of the Mountain Goat Trail. And this is where it currently ends in front of this Village Wine and Spirits shop. And so we're going to tie into the Mountain Goat Trail here and continue that through the project. And we'll have also a green space, 2.5-foot green space between the curb and gutter and the 10-foot mixed-use path. So, and then at the termini end, there is a future project. So there were a couple things that we looked at in this area. We wanted to design the project so it matches what it does today. So that was that's number one thing. We have to look at what it does today and tie into that. And then we also knew that there's this future Mount Goat Trail extension project. And so we looked at tying in to that plan, to that project in this area. So there's very little bit of rework that would have to be done once that project is built. Okay, as Mike mentioned before, this project was funded by the governor's FY23 Improvement Act. I've lost track of my slides here, so anyway, sorry about that. The Rural Interchange Improvement Program. So as part of that program, the first thing was improving the ramps, improving the interchange, making improvements to the pavement, and then the other part of that was improving the lighting. So as part of this project, we're planning to add high mast lighting throughout the interchange, and that is what this is going to look like. So there's 3 spots for that. And then we're also adding lighting along I-24, and we're going to start right at the end of where ramp C, I call this ramp C, ties in. So it's going to start there on both sides, and then it will end where both ramps tie in and terminate into I-24. So throughout this whole area, part of the lighting needs to be improved. That was part of the funding issue. So, and then also along State Route 15 and around the roundabout and around the peanut about, we're going to be adding the lighting standards that look much more like this. So, all right. I think, did I miss anything?
Oh, that's all good.
Okay.
This on the Mountain Goat Trail that we do, the future phase we tie into, that's a city project that's work coordinated through TDOT with our local programs agency. I think that goes to Assembly Avenue. So that'll be the next leg. So it keeps working its way further east, which is good to see. All right. The next couple of slides go through the roundabouts in specific. This is where we've had a lot of questions just about what are the roundabouts, what will they look like, how big are they. So this gives you the existing condition of the eastbound ramps. So we're on the southwest corner right now. Some of the items that we're seeing is, the overlapping left turn lanes, the potential for wrong way drivers. Coming up eastbound, if you get to here and a car stopped here, you can't really see around them. So when the roundabout comes in, overall it's shifted a little bit to the south. It is a single lane roundabout. Neither of these are double lane roundabouts. The peanut about is a little bit bigger, but it's still a single lane. So those are just simpler for maneuverability. The traffic volumes and the analysis that were completed show everything will function adequately with a single lane. That was important to us because of the potential for fog conditions. Just clearly letting people know this is where I'm supposed to go, this is where I need to look to make sure there's no conflicts, the decision points. So coming in from the west, you've got Parker Street. The current road will just curve a little bit. The splitter islands let you know that you're approaching the roundabout. So thinking of the foggy conditions, that's a vertical surface on the curbing that the headlights can pick up. So it helps you see guidance of where to go versus just a stripe on the pavement. It's got a little bit of height to it. For better visibility. The central island does as well. So single lane all the way around. Coming off the ramps, there are a little bit more movements that make this right turn. So there's a short section of 2 lanes. So if someone is going across or they're going west towards Suwannee, the right lane opens up so you can go and safely move on around them. Switch into the other side with Wren's Nest. Similar in that there's Wren's Nest here, there's the driveway that has the island for only right turns out, the flashing beacon. Similar conditions with seeing where you're going as you get to this point, and then also just observationally, we notice people will go straight through, they'll come out of here and go this way, and get down there.
I call this the sea of pavement. Really? It's
more pavement than is useful. So knowing where you are supposed to go, and more importantly, knowing where someone else might be coming from. Those are some of the concerns here, and this is where the high crash was evident. So the roundabout in this location, again, we had the benefit of the interchange. So Heather mentioned the right-of-way. For the most part, we shifted everything to the south. So we do affect 19 tracks of right-of-way, but it's limited mostly to driveway tie-ins, the Mountain Goat Trail. There are no relocations, so a lot of the work was shifted south. The roundabout here really demonstrates that we've pushed it over. And that helps with constructability that we'll talk about in a moment as well. But the logic behind the peanut about really was that Wren's Nest and the business driveway have higher volumes than our I-24 ramps at most times. We did look at traffic signals. They were not warranted at either of these intersections. So the roundabout was a way that we can accommodate the higher volume of traffic on 15, Wren's Nest, and the McDonald's BP, while still allowing full access to the interstate. That was one of the concerns with FHWA and the milestone is we cannot back up traffic on I-24. So this handles all the traffic equally well without a signal, so it would typically be free flow movements. As long as someone isn't there, you proceed to the roundabout and continue on. So on the right-of-way aspect, this is just a couple of points. TDOT follows the federal process for this. It's the Uniform Act. We will have a meeting that is specific to any affected property owner where you'll get to talk to, you'll find out who will be appraising the properties. We have contracted with those folks. So again, we've got some staking out there. If you're seeing this, the process is underway. The contacts will be occurring fairly soon. And again, we've got 19 overall tracks of right-of-way total, no relocations. So we'll be working through that process. There's a link to our right-of-way manual, and we've got a QR code at the end, and it'll take you to the website. The presentation, all the materials will be on that. So any links and things that you see up here, if you're not able to grab a picture of it, it'll all be posted on the website later. You can access it that way. All right, so this is just, again, a recap of the project in its whole. So we talked about the intersection control change, the roundabouts on either side, reconstructing the bridges, removing the railroad bridge, rebuilding portions of the ramps, and reconfiguring State Route 15. So we want to talk about construction. What can you expect as residents and business owners and even people traveling through during construction? Some of the challenges that we were aware of are the existing bridges. The way they're constructed, we cannot just demolish them. It's a special loading that we need to remove it piece by piece. So some challenges there. We know there are limited detour options. If you're thinking about I-24 coming up, exit 127 is 7 miles away. Exit 135 is great, but all of our ramps are on one side of the interchange. So how do we make sure people can get through to the west side? The phased construction of the roundabouts, when we're widening the roadway, typically this would be great. We just build 2 lanes, move everybody over. The roundabouts make that a little bit more tricky. So we've got that figured out in the traffic control plan. So it'll just be a few more shifts to safely move people around and give the contractor good access to the work zone. What we've done to address these, we actually brought contractors in. We do a constructability review, so that's a voluntary thing that they'll do to help us better understand their concerns. Are there aspects of the plans that would make this challenging? And we got some really good feedback on if we could give them a little flexibility, hey, I could do it faster this way. Did you consider this, or just different working room and things? So we've got one more of those meetings scheduled. That'll help. We are also planning on limiting weekend lane reductions on I-24. We're going to have to go down to single lanes on I-24 for some parts of the project, mainly the bridge removal. Again, because of the way it has to phase, that's our plan right now. The contractors did have some ideas that we're thankful they shared with us that would minimize that time or possibly avoid it. So we're working through that right now. The contract will have limitations of working periods. Again, we don't want to say, yes, you can reduce I-24 to a single lane without saying for 24 hours. So there will be a very fixed window on that because it's important to us to communicate that to you ahead of time with notices and just information that our communications office puts out about lane closures, realizing it's not just local, it's also regional. So a good awareness of that. And we also want to coordinate that with area events. We know with the college nearby, there's times where there's more traffic. The mayor has shared a couple of local events with the assembly. So we want to be mindful of all of that when we're looking at the most impactful aspects of the construction phase. So what we have is on State Route 15, we'll have continuous access from Sewanee through the interchange to Monteagle. We will always have 2 2 lanes of traffic, or at least 1 lane, possibly very short term for flagging with the roundabout phasing, but you'll be able to get from Monteagle through the interchange on State Route 15. I-24 will typically have 2 lanes of traffic. We've got short times that we are expecting we'll have to go down to a single lane just to maintain it open. But that goes along with US 41. That is not a good detour route, definitely not both directions at the same time. So we're gonna do our best to make sure trucks, for instance, know if there's a backup, you have to stay on 24 and go through it. You cannot get off and expect to go down US 41. So some advertisement about that. Skipped over the I-24 ramps. We do expect short-term closures. For those, the loop ramps in particular, to construct the roundabouts and also give the contractor more room for the bridge phasing. The lane on I-24 that exits into the loop ramp and the other one that enters into the loop ramp, they really need that width to do some of the bridge demolition. So we are planning on closing the loop ramps for short terms and detouring traffic down to exit 135. So that's about a 6-minute detour depending on which route you're trying to go. But that's really how the contractors can get access for the demolition and the construction of the foundations, and also just the best way for people to safely get through. We'd rather add the 6-minute detour than have you wiggling through a very narrow lane or construction equipment. So yeah, we always realize it's an inconvenience, but working with the contractors, we believe we have a pretty good solution to give them good room and ability to work faster while keeping traffic moving. Okay. This is an example of State Route 15 itself. We mentioned 2 lanes of traffic. So the existing bridge, that is the northern bridge, and the dash line on this side is the southern bridge. So right now there's twin bridges. The phasing plan
Show it
will...
one more time, like, I
Oh,
think
okay,
they're
sure.
trying to figure that out, yeah.
This is, it's a cross section, so you're sitting looking on State Route 15 through it.
You're looking from Swanee into Monteagle as you're driving, so. yeah.
So this is the railroad bridge would be over here, not shown. This is the northern bridge, so currently westbound, southbound, and this is the southern bridge. So right now it's 2 lanes each way because it flares out at the intersection. With the traffic volumes, we're good to reduce that to a single lane each way and put all the traffic on one bridge. So the northern bridge will have 2-way traffic. That lets us demolish the existing bridge and build the entirety of the new bridge all at once. And then once that's complete, we'll shift traffic over to the new bridge, demolish the railroad bridge, demolish the old bridge. So again, 2 lanes of traffic on State Route 15 at all times. So we're going to move into now just the questions that we've gotten so far that have been most typical. So questions about what about emergency vehicles? We've got the width set up. The design teams looked at it. Between the lane width and then the shoulder, there's enough room to pass a stalled vehicle. So if someone does stop in a roundabout, you can still get by them. If they stop on the bridge, where we've got the single lane with the median, there's still a shoulder width, so emergency vehicles can always get through. Other questions about trucks. So there's some details. And then after the questions, hopefully we're going to talk one-on-one and we can map. We've got some big blow-ups of the roundabouts up here, and we can talk about the specifics of it. But the inside of the roundabout, there's the grassed island, and then there's a concrete portion that is shown here. It's got a small height curb that you can drive over. So trucks can just use that part. The back of the trailer might track a little bit on it, but that helps channelize and control the speeds through the roundabout to be about 20 to 25 miles per hour. So there'll be an apron for larger vehicles. So emergency vehicles can get through, have room to pass. Apron for the trucks that have to get through. And then another question is just, well, why roundabouts? What are the benefits? Why is this a good solution? So a couple of statistics. Just general reduction of crashes. That's because it's a yielding entry, so it's overall free flow. But the way that the geometry works, the design is, you see it, as you're approaching a curve, you naturally know, I need to slow down for the curve. So the geometry really encourages that 20 to 25 miles per hour. So with everybody slowing down, when there are crashes, there's a 90% reduction in fatalities, 76% reduction in injuries. That's because, if you remember the collision diagram, the potential for the head-ons, the high-speed angles, all that goes away. When there are collisions, usually it's both cars going the same way and it's more of a side swipe or a rear end. So those are the ones that are less severe. So some benefits there. It also adds in pedestrian safety. We know getting the Mountain Goat Trail through, we don't want to put that through and have people 50 miles per hour right next to it. So really slowing things down, safety for everybody. It also deters wrong way driving. Just naturally, as you come in and you go to the right, it's much more difficult to go the wrong way on the ramp. As of right now, there's two entrances right next to each other. It's not always clear. There is a nearby example, southwest, State Route 50 near Winchester. So if you've driven that one, these are pretty similar in size to that. This really exhibits the main benefit in just the reduction of potential for crashes. On the left is a typical intersection, and each red dot represents an opportunity for a vehicle to collide. On the right is a roundabout. So again, all a driver has to do is look left, make sure it's clear, and enter the roundabout if it is. Versus the intersection now, when it's uncontrolled, especially at Wren's Nest, it's the sea of pavement where
Yeah.
people could be. I went ahead and drew that up. Rear left is Wren's Nest, so I didn't include rear ends or others, so I got the 36. It's okay, well that paints the picture. On the right is the peanut about, so there were 10. So again, if you're, let's say that you are on Wren's Nest coming out to enter, all you have to do is look to see, is this area clear? If it's clear, you proceed in the roundabout and continue on your way. If you're exiting I-24, same thing, you're looking to the left, as long as that stretch is clear, you're good to go. For the pedestrian aspect, it also clarifies their movements. There'll be striped crosswalks. On State Route 15, we'll have the yellow signs with flashing lights, so when a pedestrian does come up, they can activate that. It's not a full overhead signal, it's just flashing lights that let you know there's a pedestrian that wants to cross. So better visibility for cars as they approach, and then minimizing. And as Heather mentioned, we did not want to include pedestrian crossings over the interstate ramps. This way they're crossing on 15 and then run along the north side.
It's because, like, if you're coming off the interstate or getting on the interstate, you're really focused on speeding up, and the ramp is your mechanism to either slow down or to speed up from the interstate traffic. So you're not really focused on looking for pedestrians that are going to be crossing these areas. So moving them away from these areas, we are hoping it's safer for pedestrians in general.
All right. And so in closing, there's contact information. That QR code will take you to the website. And all the materials will be on the website there. We do have, again, the comment cards here. If you have specific things you want to write, you can either do it today and leave it with us, or take it and mail it in. But really with that, we'll just end the presentation, and then we're all available if you want to come up and we can talk about specific areas. If you've got questions about the scope or schedule, I can certainly answer those. If you want to see a specific spot of the design, we do have a full set of plans. Heather and her team can answer any specific questions. So we've got time for that. And again, thank you for the town for hosting us. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Take a general question.
Okay, general question.
Yeah, what happened in a fog, heavy fog up here? Are people going to be able to negotiate those roundabouts okay, or do you have to put some blinking signage, slow down to 15 or what?
The lighting system will help, but we realize in the fog it might not do quite enough. There won't be any specific signing for when it is foggy, but again, the vertical surfaces on the curves and the islands, it gives you more of a target value. So as you're driving, you'll see that. I apologize, my throat is going out. So if you want to elaborate.
Will they have reflector paint or something on the car?
Yes, I mean, we haven't necessarily designed that yet, but yes, that's something that we can consider to add, is reflective paint on the roundabout,
That definitely
curving,
helps.
and and then we're also have some, we'll have more reflective signs, and really one other thing that I think Mike didn't mention, if the power goes out, these roundabouts can still function. So just like if you have a signal here and the power goes out, you have to treat it like a or a four-way stop, right? And so one other positive thing about the roundabouts is it will still function if the power goes out.
Yeah.
So, but yes, we're planning to add reflective striping and lots of reflective signs for the project. We have the signs already added, and you can see some of the signs on here.
I've got another question. Since this is 2 years off, we have major problems with speeding in town. It would help if we could have crosswalk painted, but I've been told we can't do that without TDOT's approval.
Yeah.
Crosswalks and, that kind of painting.
Okay, if you could fill that on the comment card specifically, our traffic ops folks aren't here. We can make sure we take that back to them to see about maintenance and things.
Questions on lights. Right now, they're flashing amber lights over State Route 15.
Yes.
Will they stay or will they be replaced?
Those will be removed.
Okay.
Yep.
And replaced or just removed?
No, just removed.
Okay.
Yep.
Part two of that, the new, what I'm calling ramp lights, looks pretty high up. Is there a way for maintenance? Because I understand the town takes over once you install it, et cetera, et cetera.
I
So
believe.
what's maintenance on that? Because that's up there.
I believe they have
come down, don't
like
they?
pulleys that if the bulb goes out, they come down,
Come down to
and
the
then
ground.
you just replace the bulb and then
Oh,
pulley it back up there.
yes, I
Yeah.
know that exists. Will
Okay.
that be this?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Once you get started, how long do you anticipate this to go?
I mean, my estimate is 3 years-ish, or do you think less? That's my estimate for every project, so.
That was when we met with the contractors, 2.5 to 3 years. Part of it is it has to occur in a certain order, really surrounding the bridge. We can't just get in and go to work. So the bridge phasing will be first, and that'll take a little bit. So
Yeah.
I think in
Go back to
2.5
that
years
slide,
is
and I can
likely.
talk a little bit about that. So what happens is we're going to shift traffic, and I think Mike went over this, but we're going to shift traffic over to the North Bridge, right? And we'll run traffic, and so you'll be able to drive through the whole SR-15. And then we'll remove the South Bridge, so that'll take some time. That bridge is poured integrally, so you can only take parts of it apart at a time. It's not something that you can just bring down all at one time, so it's going to take a little time to do that. And then they'll build the new structure and the ramps, as much as the ramps that they can, and the roundabouts at that time. And then once that structure's built and the ramps and everything is back open, then we'll open the roundabouts, and then we'll remove the northbound bridge and the railroad bridge that's out there that needs to be removed. The reason that needs to be removed is there's underclearance issues, and the width of it is not it's not wide enough. So we need to remove that. It's no longer standard. So so each one is going to take its own special time, and so that's why we expect it to take about 3 years, I think. So yes, sir.
Do you expect to utilize rolling roadblocks?
I believe so. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I like those. They're good.
Yeah.
Will the new bridge there that's shown on the right, will that be able to accommodate an additional third lane each direction for I-24 going underneath?
Yes, it is designed so that, for the ultimate design of I-24. So 3 lanes is coming in the future. I mean, maybe not in my lifetime, but I don't know. But yes, it has been designed so that a third lane can come through
Will
on
have to be
I-24.
taken down to reconstruct it?
Yeah, so that railroad bridge, really needs to come out for that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
The question I have is mostly about the roundabout. The engineering part of it, maybe a 2-part question. Has it been engineered for double trailers to be able to go around it? I mean, the full size of all the types of large, extra wide and extra long vehicles. to be able to
That come through here.
to make it around that. And I'm not sure what's TDOT's experience with roundabouts this close to the interstate. I don't know if y'all have other experiences around the state, but this looks like it's kind of cutting edge.
It's one of the first ones at an interchange. It's not an uncommon approach. In Memphis with the Crumps interchange, that's somewhat, it's a couple of ramps and side streets that all come together. That's a roundabout that was opened a couple of months ago. But these are a little bit different in the way that they control it.
Yeah.
The
I
ramps
mean,
and-
somebody,
But now, if you go to Carmel, Indiana, and another gentleman was mentioning Colorado, these are done all, in every single one of their intersections is a roundabout.
I'm
And
not
it's-
saying
and
that
it's like the
the
teardrop
roundabout,
line.
but
Yeah,
the dimensions
right.
For the
Yes.
trucks.
Yep, we've.
have been
as Mike
engineered
mentioned
well
earlier.
enough to accommodate those double trailers trying to get through here and all.
Do you want to
Extra
talk about
wide.
like design vehicle versus control?
Right,
Like-
yeah. Yeah, we designed these for, we looked at both buses, you know, which is, I think, are very important. We want our kids to be safe. And then we also looked at a WV67, which is our design vehicle for this. And we ran turning movements on every single one of these turns. And that is why we have an extra wide truck apron. So it's been designed for that, and it will accommodate the big trucks. So,
Including log trucks?
yes, yep, I think log trucks are actually a little bit shorter than the WV67, so, yeah.
There's sometimes a lot of transformers get sent on 41A because they can't get under the railroad bridge, I guess.
Okay.
High loads.
Yeah.
That may go away with the train railroad bridge removed. But they also are low boys, and we know that those create problems with railroad crossings or whatever. So will the inside radial dimensions of the peanut and/or the other roundabout be able to accommodate a low boy?
I believe so, yes.
If they are carried?
Yes,
Hopefully those will be.
they have a
put on
slight
24.
curve, but it's a very small curve, but it's more to delineate the lane for our
Right.
cars, our vehicles, like a regular
It'd
vehicle.
be rarely that it
Yeah,
gets used,
yeah.
except for large trucks.
Except for when the big trucks would come through, yes. Yes, sir.
Two quick questions. The lighting, and I don't remember how much lighting we have right now. Are they dark sky initiative type of lighting, or I'm trying to think of how bright this whole intersection is going to be from a good or a bad perspective. And then secondly, I had a question about the signage internally.
I could not answer for certain. I don't believe there's anything specific about them for dark sky. It would be typical of we have an approved list of products that can use, so typically what you would see on an interchange, it would be that type.
Okay.
So I think I looked at a couple on I-24 further, like Murfreesboro, just as examples. So some of the high mast ones are 50, 60, 75 feet.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And that's intended the lights are pointed down,
Mhm.
but it is intended to broadcast a big area to avoid having a bunch of small lights and just provide more uniform lighting throughout.
Okay. Secondly, then, is there going to be any in both of the roundabouts? Is there going to be any on the surface signage for I-24 east this way,
Yes,
I-24 east?
yes. If you come up and look at our displays up here, we have an example of the
Okay.
signing that we're planning, and,
Are you
we
asking
have
about
one
the
here?
shields on the pavement?
Yes.
oh,
Okay.
shields on the pavement.
Yeah, not
We haven't
signage,
designed-
shield on the
we
pavement.
haven't
Painted
done it
shields on
yet.
the pavement.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're not quite to the final detailing of that, so we hadn't considered it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's,
But if you'll add that
That
to a
would be
comment
useful.
sheet,
Okay.
that would be great, because
those
that
things help.
reminds us to, yes, sir.
Does this design permit any landscaping or planting of trees in all this vacant area?
Right now, we are just planning on grass in those areas, and I think that is a contract that Monteagle maybe can do with that.
Well, you have
But at this point in time, it's just grass.
I think we want to become a tree city or something like that.
Oh.
I don't know what is going to be permitted. Do you have a permit specification or something for
It would be
planting
a-
all trees on
it'd be a license agreement, similar. The primary concern from our perspective is that say you're coming westbound on 15, you need to be able to see across. So that's where Heather mentioned shrubs possibly earlier. As long as there's green area where it's not a critical sight line, we would probably be okay with plantings there. Again, she mentioned the green area and undersold it a little bit with 2 feet. Through this area, the mountain goat trails offset really, as far as we could from the roundabout, because we want her to be aligned with the crosswalks. So the existing road back here, all that will be removed. That will be green area. Between the road and the trail will be green area. So there's plenty of opportunity areas. Again, as long as we can ensure we're not going to hide a pedestrian or a user, we want to make sure the sight lines all work. That's something we could work out.
Do you have a specification for that, or what? Performance spec?
For where the sight lines are?
Or what type of?
Or the
What
type
you
of-
can plan around there, like between the interstate and the off ramp?
Side triangles is
I-
what you're referring to.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess that could be developed, but not as part of this contract.
Yeah, we could
I understand
provide,
it's not part of your contract.
Yes, ma'am.
Michael, so if we were to do landscape beautification to the area and make it a part of the project, what is our deadline for getting that to TDOT? So that is incorporated at the time of the project?
time of it. Let's see, with construction in 2027, I think we'd want to have things pretty solid, say 6 months before. That's mirrors what we have with utilities that work with us in contract. So all the documents come together. So that'd be about a year from now, September, October timeframe of 26. I think, did you have a?
Yeah, going back to the fog and the island, driving in the fog, having the headlights come at you is, the primary way you're going to see your traffic coming. With the roundabouts, the headlights aren't going to be pointed in your direction. And fog gets pretty thick up here. I'm just curious if, the island is going to be too tall to see. You say that there's sight lines, or is there any information or studies been done on the fog and the roundabout and being how far we'd be able to see, and some of that traffic coming through, wanting to go, not be able to see, might be a concern.
Okay, I see. So right now you can see headlights and hey, I'm to the right of them. I'm not aware of anything specifically that has looked at roundabouts in the fog. No. But yeah, I did find a picture of, I think it was this parking lot. I think New Channel 9 had it. It looked out in foggy conditions.
No, you can't see the other
You
building.
can't, right. So the main benefit is you only have to see one direction and where you're going, but then also who's coming from my left.
Yeah, I'm just worried that, you can't see the headlights, you're not going to see.
And you should be going slow, because you're entering the roundabout very slowly.
Lots of yellow reflectors.
Is there any consideration to add a roundabout at 41 and 41A intersection?
I know we looked at improvements to that, but it was really
We
outside
did.
of our.
Yeah, when we backed up and looked at this, we came up with about $50 million worth of ideas and had to dial it down.
More than.
Well, that was part of this. This intersection was something that we wanted to address, but it really was outside of the interchange. So we were stretching to get there. We did do in one of the early concepts a roundabout, but to get the appropriate footprint and through the curvature, we would have to relocate, I believe it was both businesses in the corner. And we said it's too far beyond this project, and the benefits weren't quite there. As far as the crash history at Wren's Nest, we wanted to make sure we focused the improvements on the specific problems that we were seeing.
And really, we're just getting the mountain goat trail beyond this intersection. So that was why we're touching this area. So, yes, sir.
It does appear in that drawing that you still have a bike lane on the south side. I know one of the issues that a lot of people complain about in that intersection is being in a curve in an intersection. With the mountain goat trail on the north side, is it really necessary to maintain that bike lane?
It is
Could you
not.
straighten it out?
It is just it's just really a wide shoulder. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right, the bike lane,
Will be.
there's paved shoulders across the bridge, but through the roundabouts, the bicycle has the option to move up on the sidewalk. It's a wider path, or they take lane control and go through the roundabout. as the typical guidance. This area is really, we're not touching the southern curb line. We tied in back right after the interstate ramp, but we wanted to get the 3-lane typical section consistent. So it's resurfacing to do that. And I think, Heather, we did look at flattening that, but it reduces your sight distance because you get closer to the shrubbery and the trees and someone that could be parked there. So keeping it pulled over in the 3-lane, just it lets you see around the curve more.
Did I understand you to say that 41 between Pelham and Monteagle is not going to be a detour for any of this project?
Correct. We will not sign that as a detour.
Is
Traffic will
there a
be
way to prohibit?
not specifically, no.
Yeah, because, I mean, people are gonna do it anyway. And they do it every time there's a fender bender on 24. You know, and it'll be backed up from that intersection halfway to Pelham.
Right. Yeah, that was one of the considerations, because if it could be a detour, it would have helped with the bridge demolition construction, but it will not be a signed detour. We work with communications to put out notices of lane closure and things, but we can't actually control its enforcement, where people choose to go or not.
I have another question about the intersection here. Mountain Goat Trail will essentially terminate there at the southeast corner of the depot property. And with the bike lanes, you're going to have a lot of people crossing to get to the appropriate lane, at least for until some period of time that they finish the Mountain Goat Trail. I don't know what alignment. So right now in front of the liquor store on the west side of the interstate, that has to happen temporarily. Same thing's going to happen here on this reverse curve. You know, the Mountain Goat Trail is going to be widened or lengthened, I should say. Probably will get a lot more traffic. So is there a way to accommodate that in a temporary way that might be safer in this reverse curve?
So a little transition right there.
Yeah, so you're dumping them out and they're having to go both directions, including against traffic there.
That's something we still need to coordinate. The continuation of this is being worked on by another designer with the town. So realistically, we'll get to that point. If this is the end of construction, that's 4.5 years from now. I would expect that project will be ready to go, and hopefully it can just continue. If we can tie them together and build the whole thing together, that would be great.
But that will continue along the highway, or will it go along where the railroad track is?
Oh, it continues right here, running along the curb line. We've got that. Those are actually their line work. We're coordinating this with the restriping of the lanes. So there's a little bit of overlap here. Yeah, we have to show something. We'll get through permit and all. We've identified the right-of-way requirements, assuming that we'll be there first, I believe.
Right, yes.
And then they can come and connect to us. If that project advances, we'll make adjustments so we connect straight into that.
Right. But for now, we have to just tie to existing because that's what's there. And we're assuming we're going first. So.
But your concern is that someone's going east and now they're on the shoulder going the wrong way. And where are they going to go?
Crossing over, not so much westbound, but certainly crossing over eastbound.
I think, just to answer that question, I think that project to the east is actually further along in development than the bridge. So it's likely to be ready for construction first. If there may be an opportunity to tie them back together. It may be less disruptive to do it all at once, but otherwise it would happen first.
Have you considered the problems of transitioning into a single lane going through Monteagle? We have some trucks, can't make it over 45 miles an hour. And I just wondered if you've considered that problem.
You mean on I-24 itself?
Yes.
Yes. That's one of the clear challenges that we were talking about with the contractors. See, is there an opportunity? Because even a rolling roadblock, slowing them down, they've got to get back up to speed.
Right.
So the overhead work is, I'm going back, I wasn't there, the history of when they built the interchange. I understand they built the bridges first and then came in, so they didn't have to worry about live traffic. So it's just a challenge that we want to work with the contractors and make it as minimal as possible, but the trucking, climbing the mountain, and the single lane merging, or that is definitely one of the challenges that we're aware of.
Michael, how many acres are there in the 4 quadrants?
I do not know if we have that
I don't
offhand.
Yeah. You're talking inside the interchange?
Yes.
Yeah. I
Like
don't-
total landscaping opportunity
Right.
within.
Yeah. If you want to fill out a comment card, we can probably get that information to you, if you don't mind. Sorry.
Yeah, we're staying really within the existing right-of-way. We shift a little bit in on that side, we shift out on this side closer to Parker Street. But the infield area gets bigger here, a little bit bigger there, but again, this is the inside of the curve, so that wouldn't quite be available.
Right.
So what was the reason for going from 4 lanes down to 2? Just because there's, it can accommodate it, doesn't mean it necessarily should. I moved from Collierville when they redid Houston Levee, and to say, they went down, they had 4 lanes squeezing it down into 2, to say it was a monumental lack of foresight on the traffic and the needs that were there. So squeezing it down to 2 lanes, what is the reason for that?
The traffic forecast, we look at 20 years in the future from the year it opens. So we were looking at 2047, or from the year, so 2047 was our design year. So forecasting traffic out to that and seeing how it operates. Really, it was to the south, it's 2 lanes, it opens up to 3 lanes. Through town, it's 3 lanes. So if traffic increases monumentally, it'll be a corridor-wide issue with congestion. Specifically in the interchange, the simplification of movements and the ability to maintain a single lane roundabout. I don't know that we would have proposed a multi-lane roundabout if it remained a 4-lane roadway. Just because there's a lot more that the fog and the concerns with seeing, we felt like the single lane was the best. But it does look out 20 years ahead of time to see what the traffic volumes. And part of that is our traffic forecasting office looks at surrounding land. We're aware of several developments, so it's already factoring all that in ahead of time.
Do you have a number of vehicles that utilize this interchange now and what the forecast is for 10, 20 years down the road?
We do. That is on, it was the collision one.
3rd or 4th slide. Yeah.
Oh, what's the other way?
Yeah, it's in the beginning.
I don't think we'll be able to read it.
Right here after this, right?
This one, yes.
Oh.
So what we do is there's counts on the existing condition. So say 159 in the morning and the PM on the BP McDonald's, 258 at Wren's Nest, the various traffic coming in. The traffic counts take those and say, these 3 legs, for instance, would all be merged into this one movement. So we move the traffic to where it will be in the proposed condition. That's how the modeling is created. So that's all based on existing counts, built up based on potential growth.
Well, what about, I'm talking about the Main Street Monteagle.
Okay.
Right? I mean, State Route 15 is Main Street, and so how many vehicles use it now? I mean, it's in the thousands per day, right?
Right now, and I clipped it out, I'm not sure, we'll assume this is present day, but if it's the future, it would be the higher number. 987 would be the peak volume for it. I think.
For what unit?
I think it's on that.
Oh, it's on the.
Yeah, it's on that,
sure.
like 3rd or 4th slide.
Right before.
Yeah, this one, yeah. So 9,990 is today, and
For the-
then the future is 14,000.
So basically 10,000 vehicles per day
Yeah, per day.
currently.
Mhm.
For both ways.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
fairly evenly split. There's a little bit of directional bias.
Yeah, and that's State Route 15.
Did y'all do a peak hour level service analysis on the existing conditions and the future conditions?
Yes, yeah,
for
I
each
believe
train
those were
movement?
the numbers that you were showing on the roundabout.
Those were the volumes that went into it, but we didn't put the analysis in here. But that was part of the coordination with FHWA, was an operational assessment of the entire interchange. So
Right.
we did do that for all the movements.
Do you happen to recall what the worst level of service was for any particular movement?
Not offhand, I do not.
I don't either. Yeah, sorry.
That might be good to display what that level of service would be, even in the future years. It might be even better And it is, you know, in 20 years from now than it is today, so.
I didn't see, on the entry ramps coming in on the interstate, is there going to be any widening of the extension of the ramps for speed?
Only ramp C.
Okay.
Yeah, just the entrance ramp to, towards Nashville. We're extending that one, yeah.
Good.
The others are remaining as is, basically.
How about for coming up, going east on 24, is that ramp going to be, exit ramp going to be extended farther?
No.
But right now, you're taking a risk getting off there sometimes. It's so short.
Okay.
It is, that was one of the things when we came up with our $50 million design. We had to back down on some of the ramp work that we were doing on I-24. There wasn't much of a crash history in that location. There's a small benefit here that as you come off the ramp, it's a little bit of a teardrop, that the curve gets a little tighter. It'll be a little bit smoother now, and then it flattens out into the straightness here as you shift everybody over to get to the roundabout. So the actual ramp will be a little bit improved, but the deceleration lane to move over and take the exit, that remains as is.
Yeah, the problem is everybody's trying to get around those trucks just before they get to the top of the mountain, and you can't get over to the right because you don't have a place to get off.
Don't try to go around the trucks.
Okay.
Okay, well, we've got a couple of displays. So again, we're available to, if you have specific technical questions, we've got the plans, we can look at the detailed drawings. Again, the sign-in sheets, the comment forms. If you've got anything you want to mail in or leave with us today, that'd be great. But we've still got a good amount of time for any one-on-one discussions. And again, I thank everybody for coming today.
Thanks.
It's a pretty exciting project for us.